Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Law of Attraction Roundtable. I'm Gary Temple-Bodley. Today, we're going to talk about how the Law of Attraction brings into our lives certain conditions. And a lot of times, these conditions are what we perceive from our human limited perspective as unwanted things. And we're going to get really deep here because this is a big question from Catherine about, well, she's not sleeping. And so why is she not sleeping? Plus other issues, which we didn't include in this one, but there's a lot of issues going on. One of them in this one we're going to talk about is her inability to sleep well. And so we're going to be talking about mostly how we attract these unwanted conditions and what they really are. Today with me is Kimberley Late in Australia. Good morning for you.
Good morning, everyone.
And we will have Joshua's perspective on Catherine's question, and you channel Source. So is Source something you channel often?
Yes, obviously Source is us. So Joshua, all the beings of the light, you and me, everything is Source. So Source is not a being, it's a life force. So I've been channeling Source for, I've been only channeling like this way for a bit over 2 years. So maybe 2 years or year and a half ago, I started channeling Source. So because Source is not a being and it's limitless, I basically tap into Source energy and I channel the amount that my frequency can hold, obviously, because there's no endless amount of Source energy you can channel. So Source is us.
Yeah.
So it's basically a combination of all that is. So it's
I think that way too. I think that as I get clearer and clearer and clearer and more, realizing who I truly am and seeing myself from a higher perspective, then it comes through stronger and more powerfully. And as I let go of myself when I'm channeling, and lately it's come through really strong, I'm moving around so much more. And there's way more energy to it, and the information comes from what seems to be a much higher place.
That's right. So Source energy, you could say it's a high, in states of duality, we could say it's, higher frequency of, non-physical. However, it's basically Source code. This is what Source explained what it is. It's basically code that creates all of the universe, creates all of us. So anyone can tap into it. Source is actually us. We're unique frequencies of Source. So when you talk to your inner higher self, that is an aspect of Source. All the beings of the light, Joshua, they are Source. What's different when I channel Source compared to other beings of the light? Because Source is not attached to any personality, it's not associated with any being, it has no personality. So that's why it's fun for me to channel different beings, because when I do that, their personality comes through, just like Joshua. Joshua's personality comes through. So Source is just love. So every now and then when I do Instagram lives, I channel Source. I do that every week. And so I like to mix it up. And for this particular question, Source came through wanting to answer this question. So, yeah.
So it depends on the question and who you're with, who comes through.
That's right. So basically, I don't control it unless someone specifically says, can you channel this being?
Yeah.
Usually I allow whoever wants to come through. So sometimes they need a higher perspective, and that's when Source comes through. Depending on the person's belief system has a lot to do with it, of the being who chooses to come through. So it's, But at the end of the day, no matter who I channel, it is all unique frequencies of Source anyway. So
it's, when I do it now, what I do is, it takes me maybe 30 seconds or so to set my intentions mentally. I do some deep breathing, and I envision all the entities that make up Joshua, plus all the entities, like the millions of guides and supporters of whoever's on the call, and sometimes there's 30 or 40 people on the call, and who's ever going to ever listen to it, in the future. And so I imagine like a big, swirling, wide sort of tornado. Like most tornadoes are deep and tall. This is more wide and broad. And then I imagine it coming into my pineal gland, which is just a guess. Who knows where it comes into? But really at the top of my head. And when I was first starting receiving Joshua, I would feel a sensation, like an electric, static-y kind of sensation at the very top of my head. And so I imagine coming down through that, and then I say, I'm going to be clear, I'm going to step aside, and I'm going to just say whatever comes to me. And that's how I do it. And it's cool because, you know, that means it's a different combination of entities every time it comes in, because it depends who's on the call and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for you, it's like, all right, we'll see who comes through. And it's a surprise to you sometimes, right?
Yeah, and that's right. And that's why, you know, you have to have trust as well, because like if you channel the same being, I could imagine you have to be a bit more comfortable because you trust that being's going to come forth, and you know who's going to come forth. You can just wait till they're here and, you know, relay the message. Whereas when I don't know who I'm channeling, I have to sit there and basically I wait for who wants to come forth. And that could be, you know, a visual image of them popping up to me, could be their name, a number of different ways, and I just have to trust it. So yeah, it's kind of a different process, and it involves a lot of trust.
Well, that's what this really is, because imagine going on, you know, a call with 30 or 40 people on the call, and you don't know what is going to come out, you know. You know, anytime you've ever done anything like on stage, you knew what you were doing. If you were in drama or if you had a speech prepared or something, you knew it was going to come out. Imagine not knowing what's going to come out and just trusting that it does. And that's why if you're channeling, and this is available to everyone, trust is the key to all of this. You have to trust what's happening. And everyone doubts it too. And also, when I first started channeling, what was coming through and typing seemed like gibberish when I was typing it, and it wasn't until I read it back that I got it. And so there's a vibrational shift that has to take place where you match up to this energy, where you receive it in real time. Otherwise, you'll have to do it and then go back later and either listen to it or read it.
Oh, it's a process for everybody, you know, depending on your pre-birth intention. Some people chose to bring this forth very quickly. Like, I mean, I've had certain abilities all my life, and I could communicate, you know, with angelic beings, but not in the way that I'm doing now. And this kind of only came on about 2.5 years ago, all of a sudden. And for me, it felt like it came on all of a sudden, but it wasn't. Everything was leading me up to that point. So, you got to trust as well. And sometimes it may seem a bit weird. Or it might kind of freak you out a little bit, but you just got to trust it. I mean, everyone has this ability. And the key here is not to compare yourself with other people or other channels, most importantly, because even though there are other channels like me and you, Gary, even though, you know, we channel different beings, might have a slight different perspective, but the same message, you know, there might be, for instance, with me, there might be other people who channel the same being as me, but it's not. It is actually different because it relates to the frequency also from the channel.
Yes.
So it's always unique. So if you start comparing yourself and the messages to other messages from the similar beings, that's when you're gonna start seeing yourself as not as worthy. You're going to be, you know, thinking that, well, maybe a message is wrong or it's not right. Maybe I imagined it. So you just have to trust there is no one channel that is the same. Even if you channel the exactly same being, there's no message exactly the same. No channel that is the same. So you have to trust that you are unique.
Well, that's true of everything that you want to do too. If you start comparing it to someone you assume is better than you, or experienced, you're always going to feel unworthiness. But everyone is unique. We all have something unique to offer. And I was talking to another channel yesterday about this, and like for me, I only knew Esther, and she only knew Esther. And so when she was channeling, she was like comparing herself to Esther, and that's a very hard thing to do if you're especially if you're similar. If you're North American, you speak English, and you're a woman, and you're comparing yourself to Esther, you're like, geez, how can I do it that way? But everyone is unique. And so luckily for me, I'm younger, I'm a man, I'm pretty normal, and it came out much, you know, more specific. And you can see with the comparison we'll do today and everyone we do when it's with you or David or Astrid, it's totally unique answer, but compatible and complementary. But for Joshua, has me in Joshua. So there's a combination of that intelligence and me. And what I'm interested is in actual, tools and mechanisms and procedures to make true changes in our lives, truly effective in our lives. And so, Joshua is more cut and dry, to the point, and not as ethereal as a lot of it is, right? And not a lot of unicorns and rainbows. Or
yeah, that's where I come in. Maybe not unicorns, or sometimes. Yeah, that's it's what I really like about this, because how compatible it is. Like, I know Joshua's very practical, and the beings of the light, they also have some practical techniques, but they also go into everyday living, but also bring that into more in the metaphysical, esoteric realm as well.
Yeah.
So I love how it combines that as well.
And also softer, it's like a lot of people say about Astrid and Laurel, and that Laurel is practical but soft, and a lot of people like that. And a lot of people someone said to Tracy the other day that Gary's sort of mean. Because I was like, I don't tolerate people's, self-imposed limitations anymore. It's like, okay, can you see this now? Are you still going to argue for your limitations? And this is a question, I had to edit this question. The question I'm going to read today is completely edited from the one that I sent you. Because, because Catherine, this was a whole page or more of all these problems, and when people get into these problems that they see in their lives, they like to talk about it, and they like to explain the reason I'm the way I am is because of this, and the other thing, right? And if I didn't have this, and the other thing, then I'd be normal. And man, once I got done, I read the source's answer first, which I never do. And then did Joshua's, and I'm going like, okay, is this going to be similar? Because I've read the source's answer, and it was like, it says the same thing, but it says it's way more specific and sharp, and is like, you'll see when we get into it, but it's like, if you want to continue to hold on to your limitations, then expect more limitations to come.
More direct.
Yeah, it's going to bring, the intensity is going to ramp up as you go along.
Yeah, and like, depending on who I channel, they can be very direct as well. So, with these teachings that we bring forth, they can either activate you or trigger you in remembering who you are. So depending who I channel, it's more activation, but perhaps sometimes Joshua, when they're very hard, it could trigger someone into that journey.
Totally.
Depending on the being I channel, they can be quite direct. Like, I just channeled Carly the other week, and she's quite Carly. She's like a so she's quite direct. So depending on who you channel, but for me, all the beings that I bring forth are all loving, but some can be more direct than others.
Yes, well, directness is not loving, it's still loving, and it's all the information is based in love, and they're not seeing anyone as imperfect. They're just there's a it's like a moonstruck, slap out of it. But you can't slap out of it, because from our perspective, we can see the illusion, we see through the illusion that other people are seeing, because it's not us. We're not attached to these things. And so it gets super clear what's happening with that person. But they see the person as perfect, and they don't see the illusion as wrong, and they don't say, if you fix the illusion, if you see through the illusion, you'll have a better life. They don't say that. They'll say you'll just have a different experience. You'll have a different exploration. It's good either way. There's no right or wrong to it. You're just going to feel good one way or feel bad the other way. So that's really, you can really see the perspective of, and both Source and Joshua are talking about Catherine as this like super advanced being who came here to experience something more intensely than most people, because she's this advanced explorer, and that you can really see in his answer, and I see that as well. And so you see people who are really mired in resistance, yet find their way to these teachings and to this information. They are advanced people. Everyone who comes here, of course, is advanced, and actually everyone on the planet is advanced. This is like the cream of the crop coming right now in this time of awakening. But those who are going through extreme experiences did so on purpose, and because they're so advanced and have done so many lives before. Great.
They wanted the challenge.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to read this question, and then we'll go into the source's answer, then we'll go to Joshua's answer.
Great.
Okay. This is about severe insomnia. I've written pages and pages and bloody pages, she's from England, already on this issue. I have always been a poor sleeper since childhood, but over the last 7 months, I have never yet had one full night's sleep and average about 90 minutes to 2 hours a day. I often go 3 days without any sleep and as many as 5. I am completely perplexed as to what is going on. I'm trying to process limiting beliefs and negative emotions. I should sleep. I am not relaxing. I am worrying, but I can't seem to gain any more insight other than fear as a child of sleeping due to nightmares. Again, I'm at a loss to what's going on other than I'm agitated about my life. I am frightened to say still, and she's frightened to say still, and she should be moving. She's frightened to not be doing anything in her life. She's frightened to stay still, and she thinks she should be moving on her life, right? I have since started trying to accept and embrace the insomnia, but as I'm completing my boot camp homework, I am finding I get to a certain point of examining the situation, but I don't know what to do about it or where all this stemmed from so I can address it. Can you offer me a little more insight as to what my limiting beliefs are? Why is this happening? And where does it stem from? All right. This is a thing. People really like to get into where it stems from. And Joshua will say, it doesn't matter where it stems from. It exists now in this moment, and that's where all your power is. So just look at the limiting belief. Who cares if it came from childhood or some, thing your mother said or whatever it was? Just understand that you carry that limiting belief now, and then look at what you can look at now and peel away that layer.
And, it is understandable that a lot of us, we see our issues like that, especially, in mainstream therapy, for instance. It's to look back in the past. Let's analyze the issue. Let's analyze your childhood. But that's all very well, but it's about addressing what comes up in the present moment. So, that's why these channelings, these teachings are so powerful, because it's a new way of exploring what we perceive as issues and challenges.
And what we have to understand is that our vibration is emitting in this moment, and that's creating the reality of this moment. That's right. That literally the past does not matter. It's what is in the moment. And so what is in the moment doesn't matter where it came from. That's what is. You want to change the reality that you're experiencing, you change that vibration. And that's where you have the control. So going in the past just brings up more of that energy of that limiting belief, the more fear energy.
Yeah, and it's actually not us. Like it's a lower dimensional aspect of ourselves is the past. Like who we are is in the present moment. So we're multidimensional beings, and us in the past, we would say, is a less expanded version of ourselves. So why would we want to tap into that version of ourselves? Right. Yes, if it comes up into our present moment, maybe it's for us for a moment, but it's not to linger in that moment and still stay in the present.
Yeah. So think about your body as a baby. None of that is here anymore, right? That doesn't exist, that body. This body is new now. Not one of those cells, I don't think, still exist in us now. They're all been replaced by other cells. So nothing from the past exists in the moment. Everything is created in this moment by what you believe. And certainly you adopted beliefs from the past and you carry them with you like in a backpack. But you can unpack that backpack and you can lighten that load, not by casting away those limiting beliefs, but by reducing the intensity of them. Big stuff. All right, let's go. Let's see what Source has to say.
Okay. D1, you are a perfect specimen of the human race. You are complete in every way that was intended. You are highly advanced as the perfect, unique expression of source, of all that is. These words that are being written and the voice that comes to you is you. We are one. You are so highly advanced in source expression that you wanted to experience a life with certain challenges, as you wanted to explore life as a human in this current life in a unique way. You wanted these challenges so you can experience and see yourself for what you are truly not, a victim, in order for you to see who you really are.
So this is a brilliant paragraph. This applies to all of us. We are perfect specimens. We're perfect in every way. We're complete in every way that was intended. We're highly advanced and as the perfect expression and unique expression of source. And maybe people don't realize this, but there is nothing in physical reality that is the same as anything else. Everything is unique. Every blade of grass, every snowflake, every grain of sand. I even read that they just found 2 snowflakes that were the same, but they're not the same because one's over here and one's over here. You know, no matter what, you are unique. Identical twins. One's looking at their twin. That experience of looking at their twin is unique from the other twin's experience of looking at their twin. Everything is unique. So why is that? Why is that? Because everything has to be a unique experience of life to have a unique experience of what source is.
It is. It's, you know, we're a unique frequency because of all the multidimensional lives we are living and have lived that creates our unique frequency. So there's not one person the same.
That's the whole point. Yeah, all these frequencies that are unique make up what source is. And so to have 2 identical frequencies would be redundant and unnecessary and impossible in the system. All right, great.
All right. These words are coming from you, for we are one. You look for answers as to your existence, your life, and your perceived state of affairs, which you perceive as something as unwanted. You compare yourself to others in your perceived reality, and you compare what a life should look like, what an empowered, aligned being should look like. It is you. You are perfect. You perceive you must be not aligned to your source self because of these conditions. This is your key. You believe that these conditions would not exist otherwise. D1, you do not know your chosen reasons to why you chose the conditions. These conditions are part of your purpose. These conditions led you to search for answers, and it led you to this very question. It is not by accident.
All right. So this is really important to understand, is that you set yourself up on a trajectory prior to your birth, that whatever that trajectory was, the conditions of your birth formed that trajectory and led you to where you are now. And so if you're interested in the law of attraction, if you're interested in, you know, these higher teachings, more going on here, if you're waking up, that sort of thing, it's because of the life you intended to live and that pre-birth intentions that you set yourself up into.
That's right. And, you know, a lot of us on this journey see our conditions as unwanted because we think that if we were this aligned being, then we wouldn't have these so-called unwanted conditions. But like what Source says, we don't know our pre-birth intentions. So it's actually, instead of trying to change the conditions, trying to see everything as perfect and is the way we wanted it to be. So I like how Source is, basically Source is like everything is perfect, even your fears, everything about you, your conditions are perfect. So it's stop trying to kind of control the conditions. And it's hard because we all do that. We all think that we should be something that we're not. We all think we should have a a perfect life, but what is a perfect life? We judge what a perfect life is, you know, like people in our society and our belief systems, but, you know.
Yeah, so that comparison is, you're comparing not to other people, but to some ideal, right?
That's right.
And that ideal is it's an unempowering or limited use of your imagination. And when you see people that you presume are doing better than you, you're making that up because you have no idea how they feel. You know, it seems like they're doing what is a good thing to do or is better than you. Or we're doing a right now in the middle of this 10-day course for Insight Timer, and it's all about a healthy body and fit mind. And people who are trying to diet and stuff, they've created this ideal of what a perfect body would be, but they don't know how people feel in that body and what they have to go through, you know, what their interests are and what their motivations are and all that stuff. And so they're comparing it to what their body should be, which is this ideal, which has no basis in reality, because your body is a perfect reflection of who you are at this time. And if you want a different body, then you don't control the body by dieting and all this struggle and effort. You control it by your perception of yourself and being perfect as it is, because your body is a perfect representation of how you see yourself.
That's right. And you don't know, you know, your pre-birth intentions, or otherwise known as soul contracts. You don't know other people's, you know, pre-birth intentions. So that's why you cannot compare yourself to anybody else.
Right.
You cannot even compare yourself to even you, because you do not know fully why you came here to explore.
Right. And so the whole key to all of this is to see yourself as perfect, everyone else is perfect, and the conditions is perfect, and accept it instead of resisting it.
That's right. Allowing and letting go of resistance, which can be very challenging, but yeah, that's the key.
Well, it's challenging for everyone, of course, but especially when you're in some intense thing. Yeah.
Okay. You have been led to the journey within to discover the reason for being. You search for clarity when clarity is already expressed within you. You seek for answers, however, the answers are already within you. You are source. You are also expressing life through the human condition and in form. Therefore, you have certain dynamics interplaying with your journey home. As part of the human condition, you wish to have the answers, the solution, the magical answers to cure all and elevate all your life experience. This is where the human condition and your belief systems lie that limit your connection to the God that you are. Your life purpose has led you here. Your life purpose has led you to ask your question, to enable others to feel more empowered. What you see as an unwanted condition is really a life blessing. It is a dynamic that you chose to allow you to express your life purpose through your own perceived development and to assist others embrace the light within them.
So this is super interesting because as a powerful creator, Catherine's entire life led her, she's in the boot camp now, in Joshua's boot camp, led her to the boot camp, led her to these teachings, led her to ask this question. This question is now on this podcast. This podcast will be listened to by tons and tons and tons of people. And you might think that, I lived this entire life, so this question could help other people. Well, your entire life, Catherine, is this example for others to glean from, because that's how powerful she is. Yeah. That's super, and you might say, what is that? That's nothing. No, it's huge. That's your being. That's who you truly are trying to break free and emerge. Yeah. And
it's just one step. She's gone through her journey. If it wasn't for her conditions, she might not have found you, Joshua. She might not have found these teachings. So it all led her to where she is today. This is just one more step. This answer is just one more step. Now, this will either activate or trigger more remembering of who she is, and then she'll receive guidance for her next step. So it's just one more piece of her puzzle.
Excellent.
All right. Yes, you do have fears that are preventing you to embrace fully your sovereign self. Yes, you have beliefs that are stemmed from condition and experience of life. These dynamics are also perfect and are part of the divine master plan. It is just you do not see this. The more you let go of the resistance to it, the perceived time frame in which the conditions will be reduced. The notion of it ever leaving your experience will allow the remembering of why you chose it for yourself and how it is assisting you and others. Ultimately, it is allowing you to travel the path which you in your multidimensional experience as source has laid out for you to discover your life purpose. You are a light worker in human terminology. You are here to empower yourself and others. The more you embrace this purpose and believe you are more worthy of it, you will be less resistant in sleeping. For in your sleep, you will receive more information and experience as you travel the non-physical in the multiverse, awakening the remembering of who you are as the perfect and powerful source being that you are. Embrace your worthiness. Embrace the belief that you are powerful. You are source. How can you not be? We are one. We love you dearly as we are you. You are living your life perfectly and completely. Practice opening your heart to the wisdom that is already there. You are love. You are source expressed uniquely in your form. You are one with all that is. So,
And we're all that to some extent, right? I mean, we're all that to our own unique extent of that. And we're all doing the same exact thing. And we're all resisting, and we're all allowing, and sometimes resisting more, and sometimes we're allowing more. And so Joshua talks about this spectrum. So think about a rainbow. In the middle of the rainbow, on the left side of it, is fear, and the right side is love. And some people are living in fear. Some people are living in total fear. Some people are living in some acceptance and love, and some people are living in total love. And so all of us are moving from that fear side to the love side at some point, right? And that's what these teachings are, is how to move from that fear to the love side. How to, that fear is all, what you're afraid of is an illusion, and we don't need to subscribe to it anymore. And once you start pushing past fear and analyzing that fear, is it rational? Is it irrational? Then we get to this new level of really effectively navigating this reality as we intended. Then our soul's purpose comes out. Then we see who we truly are. Then things just fall into place and magical things happen. And it's true of all of us, no matter who you think you are. I mean, we're lucky enough that we've got to this level where we realize that we're spiritual leaders and teachers. We accept that we're channels and not think it's weird. We are on a podcast talking about this to lots of other people who are listening. More and more and more and more people are joining in this conversation. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And everyone, but still people say, well, that's you, Gary, or they'll say, that's you, Kimberly, but that's not me. If you do this now, there's something in you that's trying to come out as well. Your soul. Yeah.
And that's what I find very interesting here is, I don't know Catherine's, profession or what she does for a living or anything like that. Obviously, I don't know her personally, but I like how, Source is emphasizing that, you know, she has these conditions because she's a light worker. So she's here to empower herself and others.
Mm-hmm.
So if it wasn't for these conditions, she wouldn't find her life purpose, which has brought her here. And what's very interesting is the part about sleep when Source said that when she embraces more of her self-worth and self-love, she'll be less resistant to sleep, because, you know, when we go to sleep, like numerous beings of the light have said, is that when we go to sleep, we go to the non-physical. So you may receive downloads, we travel the multiverse. So it's like, in part of her is resistant to her life purpose. So she's resistant in sleeping because she knows she'll get more answers through her sleep.
Ah.
So that's a very interesting aspect there. But once she can see that she's powerful and that she has this purpose of empowering others and that she's worthy of it, because, you know, you might think, oh, you're not worthy to be, you know, this light worker because I have all these, you know, diseases, is illness, or, you know, my body isn't healthy, so how can I empower others when I'm not healthy? So I can understand that could be a limiting belief, but they're saying that you have this because you know, you are here to empower others, and this is actually part of your purpose, so embrace it. You know, it's not something to be changed, it's to embrace it.
Yeah. Well, that's true of everything. The resistance to whatever it is makes it worse, by, you know, makes it intolerable. So we'll go into Joshua's. I don't want to give too much away here because Joshua talks about this from another perspective, which is interesting. All right. Dear Catherine, all unwanted physical manifestations come from resistance. The actual manifestation of any condition that you feel is negative or unwanted contains information. It's a clue to the limiting beliefs, not that really cause the unwanted manifestation, but cause you to perceive it as unwanted. Without the limiting belief, there would be no resistance to the event or condition. Therefore, you would not perceive it as wrong. If you perceive something as wrong, it's only due to a limiting belief about it, to resistance to what is happening. All right. What if most humans spent 1 to 2 hours a day sleeping? Okay, sorry. What if most humans slept 1 to 2 hours per day? What if it was considered lazy to sleep more than a couple hours per day? We're not suggesting that there's inherently anything right or wrong with the amount of sleep one might receive. It's simply another perspective. If you perceived that it was normal to sleep a couple hours each day, would you offer the same resistance? We think not. And that's an interesting perspective too, because she's obviously getting along with 2 hours of sleep, you know? And
everyone can do that.
Yeah. And now I just got this idea here that, okay, so when you're a baby, you're sleeping like crazy. You're sleeping all the time, right? Because you're returning to non-physical.
That's right.
Because there's, you know, contrast coming up. It's a new environment. When you're 70 years old, you're sleeping 5 hours a night, that sort of thing, right? Because you're so used to the environment and you're not going back, you know. And so for someone who's not sleeping a lot and living, you know, managing, it's because they are really tuned to this environment, and maybe they don't need a lot of time in the non-physical. But then you said, well, when you go back to the non-physical, you're going to get downloads of who you really are, and that's what you're truly resisting, is that who you really are, which I totally agree with that now. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Okay. Whatever condition presents itself will fall under a judgment of good or bad, right or wrong, from you, the individual. This is life in duality. Where does this judgment come from? It originates from your set of beliefs. If you try to alter the conditions of you, you will find frustration, struggle, and effort. You are not here to change conditions, for the conditions are always a result of your vibration. You are simply to sift and sort your way through life and create preferences. If you prefer the conditions to be different than what you are experiencing, you must change your vibration. If you offer the same vibration and try to change the conditions, you may certainly change the conditions temporarily, but they will return, for there is something for you to learn. So yeah, the outside conditions are a perfect reflection of your vibration. You can change the conditions, because when you're focused on changing the conditions, you're sort of changing your vibration too. They'll change for a while, and then you'll revert back to your old vibration, and they'll change back. Or if you're not getting the message has to come in somehow, right? So it'll come in some other way, or the same thing, even stronger.
And I know in Catherine's question, she was saying, she's doing all the homework, yet I still have this condition. It's because, part of her vibration is not just her limiting beliefs. Like, she can do perhaps all the work that she thinks she's doing on changing her limiting beliefs, but there's an aspect there why part of her frequency is why she has these conditions is because of her soul contracts of pre-birth intention. So yes, she attracted that, but that's because of her, her soul contracts of pre-birth intentions. So no matter how much she accepts it, she might still have it to a degree because there's another aspect of that. She has to then look within herself and be worthy of herself as a powerful, a leader or a powerful teacher, or however she is as a light worker. And it's about accepting all that is. So, trying to change the conditions, it's about accepting it that, these conditions, it's kind of like you have to flip it around and even be like, okay, I'm going to, change the conditions. I'm going to do, work on all my limiting beliefs so I don't have this issue anymore, right? But it's actually the opposite. Well, somewhat you have to actually accept and be like, it is okay. You have to kind of actually let it go and go, it is completely perfect if I was to have this condition all my life.
Exactly. That's what
totally
you have to do.
And trusting and not trying to control by like, if I do all this work, yeah.
Because that's control. If you say, I'm doing this in order to control that, it's still control. It's still trying to change conditions. What you have to say is, I absolutely accept this condition is for me. I accept it if this continues the rest of my life. I'm not here to change anything. I'm here to understand my pre-birth intention, and my pre-birth intention, I don't want to give anything away, but is something other than what I think it is, right?
That's right.
We'll go in and we'll see what that is. All right. In fear, you create fear. Fear is nothing more than the illusion of wrong. You are experiencing a difference of opinion between your view of your life and your inner self view of your life. You perceive this condition as wrong, yet your inner self perceives it as right. Why is that? What is the disconnect? It has to do with a set of limiting beliefs which cause you to perceive the illusion of wrong. In this case, it is the limiting belief that you are not normal, not good, not worthy, and not right. There is something wrong with you. This is your belief. In order for your belief to be true, you must create conditions that prove there is something wrong with you. This is consistent in our culture.
Yeah.
Okay, so here it starts. And Joshua had written an article that says, trying to be good is the source of all your perceived problems. All right, especially women, we're taught to be good, and women, when they're good, when girls are good, they receive love, and when they're bad, they receive rejection. It doesn't work that way with boys as much. Boys have a different sensibility about them. They don't need that love the same way that it seems like girls do. So they're more tough and rebellious, and they act out and that sort of thing. But from my perception, doing this for 5 years now, it's that thing of trying to be good and then being good and still not getting love. And so you be good and you don't get love. And so you say, okay, there's either something wrong with me or I'm not good.
That's right.
You can't be not good, right? You have to be good. So then you manifest something wrong with you. And that could be, a drinking problem, being overweight, a health issue, all these things. It comes from, and Josh will go right into this, but this is just a brilliant thing. You can really see. So all of your perceived problems, one, are illusions, and two, are manifested because that you sort of need them to prove something.
That's right.
Okay. From your limited perspective, you believe that because you are not right as you are not perfect as you are not whole as you are, and are not worthy as you exist in this current moment, then there is something wrong with you. If there was nothing obviously wrong with you, then you could not believe you are not worthy and good as you are. In order for your idea of self to be true, you must conjure up some malady. You have several conditions that confirm you are not good and right and whole. These conditions prove to you that you are broken. You talk about these conditions to others to prove to them that the reason you are not whole is simply due to all these unwanted conditions. If the conditions did not exist, then you would have no proof or excuses to provide to yourself and others for the reason you feel the way you do. Your feelings of unworthiness and not being good enough create the conditions, not the other way around. And this is what Source was saying. You've got to understand you're perfect as you are. You don't have to prove it to anyone else. There is nothing wrong with you. You are complete. You're whole. Any perceived whole in who you are is an illusion.
That's right. And even when, you know, assisting others as a light worker, it's the same thing. If you want to truly assist another, you know, the most effective way to do that is see that person as perfect, as that condition is perfect. And you know, so that's how it is with life. So instead of seeing someone as a victim, seeing yourself as a victim, see them as fully empowered, see yourself most importantly, because we're all reflections of Source. We are one. So if you judge someone as, you know, not as empowered, you are judging yourself as not as empowered. So most importantly, it's looking at yourself and saying that you are worthy because you are Source, you are powerful, that everything is leading you to discover your life purpose. And it's hard, but it's to let go of the resistance, let go of where you think this is taking you, because the answers will be shown to you because the answers are already within you. Yeah. So it's increasing self-love and letting go of the resistance.
So this is interesting because in the boot camp Joshua Live we did on Friday, Catherine asked a question, and she was talking about when she was a physical therapist, and she would always see the other person as perfect and equal as her. Okay. But the other therapists say, I have this degree, so I know more than you, and so I'm always talking down to the patient because I'm the expert and you don't know anything and you need my help, right? And so that was dynamic, and there was a whole bunch of resistance there. Well, Catherine would come in and say, we're in this together, we're equal, and we're both fucked up, you know? Equally fucked up. Well, that's what people like to say. I'm not perfect and you're not perfect, right? And she would see a whole bunch of easing of resistance. And then Joshua said, well, where you are is seeing yourself as equal, and that's a wonderful thing. But now see yourself as magnificent and limitless and as pure positive being of love and acceptance, as pure and whole and perfect as you are, and then see the other person as perfect as well. Right? You're even raising that even higher. Yeah. That's right. So in order to help anyone else, you can't see that they need your help. You have to see them as perfect. And in that idea of them as perfect, you'll receive inspiration that might be of benefit. But if you see them needing your help, you'll always dip into a lower emotional state of being and you'll receive urges to change them. And you say, if I could change them, they'd be better. And I do this all the time. You know, I really want to help people. And it's like, you can't see them needing help because you're going to give them unwanted advice, you know, to fix them. But there's nothing to fix. You know? All right. You are not suffering. In fact, you are receiving everything you need to go on demonstrating how broken you are. Yet these conditions are not enough. You are still here in physical reality. You're still alive. You can still speak to people and interact. Your excuses are not enough for you. You will soon create more evidence that you are unworthy in even more magnificent ways. Unless you adjust your opinion of yourself to perfection, you will face even more intensely unwanted conditions. This is the experience of one who refuses to understand their own magnificence. Yeah, so it's time. You got here now. It's time to see your magnificence. It's time to stop believing the old bullshit programming that we all went through and say, those people did not know what they were doing. If they knew what they were doing, we would not have these limiting beliefs. However, we all intended to have these limiting beliefs so that we go through those lives and those experiences to get here now.
We're in the transition. It's the Great Awakening. So those of us here are the most advanced beings. Like, there are so many beings trying to get here on Earth, but only the most advanced are able to come here. So we wanted this kind of disability, because by going through this, we expand only ourselves, we expand the collective, we expand all that is, we expand source. So, you know, you are born here, even though no matter what challenge you have, you are also born with the solution to overcome it. It's all within you, all the keys, all the information. You know, when we channel an answer, it's coming in a direct way, but the words are also within you for your one. So you can also receive these words from going within and doing the work and letting go of resistance. It's hard and it's one step at a time, but, you know, everyone that is watching this are drawn to it. You are a light worker in some form, and you know, that is to, whether it is just to empower yourself and be a beacon of light for others, or whether that is if you're guided to actually do, you know, to actually help others in a more direct way. Either way, you're here to help assist and expand all that is, because all that is, all the people around you, everyone on earth is actually a reflection of you as well. You are all one. So, you know, one step of the journey, and she's here asking these questions. So, you know, with both our answers, this will either activate or trigger her in going further inwards to, you know, remember this for herself.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when we do the boot camp, there's, you know, 50 people in the boot camp, and everyone puts in their life story. And so some people have life stories that are, from our perspective, really difficult. And those who have easy stories, or from their perspective seem like their lives were wonderful, right? That's just as hard. It's just a whole new thing. How do you really understand who you are when you grow up in this average existence, when nothing happened to you, you know? Mm-hmm. You think you're just average like everyone else. When you go through something intense, you think, man, I'm special because I went through this intense event. At least you think that, you know. I don't know about you. I was always super sensitive, and I've noticed that theme of emotional sensitivity that runs through the Joshua community. That we're all sensitive, and I think this gives the answer to why there's, you know, this distribution of weighted in favor of women in the community and who are interested in this, because they're more emotionally sensitive. But that's a big thing. We wanted our emotions to be sensitive. We wanted to know when we felt negative emotion.
That's right.
All right, we are almost done here. Well, let's see, I'm just gonna run. Wow, this is a long answer. Okay, so Joshua is weaving this whole tale here to come to the end here. Imagine us telling you that you are a limitless and magnificent being of pure positive love and acceptance. How can you accept this description of yourself, since all you have ever known is unworthiness? We will tell you that you are a spectacular and advanced explorer of physical reality. You came in setting the intentions for a very intense experience of unworthiness. And here you are living with the illusion of unworthiness and adopting some very powerful limiting beliefs about yourself, other people, and the world in which you live. But this path has led you to where you are now. You somehow found your way to these teachings and into our boot camp. You somehow allowed enough of your true desires to create a path to our door. You push past your fears and step through the threshold. You are here now. Same as what the sources said, she's this very advanced being. And this intense level of unworthiness has caused her to seek something. She's still seeking something outside of herself, like we all do, right? And the answers are all within, but our inner selves guide us to these teachings and other stuff as clues to raise our perspective just about who we are. Let me go on to the next one here. Certainly there is a trajectory of your life. Momentum is built up over time. However, with daily spiritual practice, a new and higher perspective on all things, and a new understanding of who you truly are, you can process those limiting beliefs layer by layer. And when you do, you will feel the exhilaration that comes with the creation of a new vibration and a new reality. So, you know, we all experience these things, but imagine coming from like really tough experiences and overcoming them to that exhilaration that you must feel. That we're not going to feel that way because it hasn't been that intense. But to us, we have our own intense things, you know. It's an interesting thing. You know, we can't experience fear and lack and unworthiness in the non-physical, and so that's why all humans experience those three things here.
That's right. And like, I find a lot of people as well in the healing professions, they have gone through, you know, a lot of trauma or a lot of challenges in their life because, and you know, because they feel like they want to now help others. So you can see how it was perfect and how it really was for them because they went on that journey. And I'm one of those people. You know, you inspired then to help others, and it also heals you, and that brings you forth into your life purpose. And that's why you're meant to go through those issues. If I hadn't gone through what I went through, I would never felt, you know, guided to become a counselor. And then as a counselor, I discovered I could channel. So I wouldn't have gone through that journey most likely if I hadn't gone through what I went through. So I had to go, you know, it kind of forced me to go inwards to change the perception that I'm a victim to someone that's empowered and a God creator. So, you know, sometimes these things happen. Well, pretty much they all happen for us to go inwards. So it can be challenging, especially in the midst of it. You can't see that because our vibration and because of our human experience, we can only see to hear. You know, we can't see what's really in store for us and our pre-birth intentions.
Well, that's why you have to try and imagine, you know, the higher perspective. If you were existing in the non-physical and you look down to see your life, you would realize that what you're going through is just this temporary blip, and it's not that important, and you're feeling negative emotion because you have an intense limiting belief about it, and you're perceiving something as wrong, and it's not wrong. So today I had this huge manifestation event. We have a new puppy. He's getting huge, and I was carrying him, and he sort of, you know, lashed out at my face, and his tooth caught my lip and just cut this big gash in it, right? And it was really painful, and it was bleeding all over the place, and I was really upset. I'm like, okay, this is weird. I don't have events like this that make me upset. I can have negative thoughts and can process those thoughts, you know, thoughts of resistance, but this was intense. And of course, now that I'm doing all this work, those emotions get more and more intense. And so I really feel it. I was really angry. And, you know, I'm like, it's a puppy, okay? And it, you know, it tried to play with me, and it got my lip, and it hurt. Why am I so upset at this? And why did this happen? And it's like, I really have to make sure that this dog is, you know, I have to be careful with this dog around other people. If that had happened to one of my friend's kids, you know, it would have been the end. So this sort of thing has to happen to me so that I can take the necessary steps. Maybe this will encourage me to do a dog training school, or to make sure he has a muzzle on around people, or whatever, you know. But I just got to think more in this way, and this is why it happened. And so I was intensely upset, and it took me a little while to realize what was happening and to see that there was a lot of information in this event for me. And that's just a silly thing. But man, I was so mad.
Yeah, you know, as the more we do this work, we do get more sensitive, but generally we're able to align ourselves more quickly than before as well. Yeah.
We don't linger in it. We don't take it personally. We don't get upset at the conditions itself or the people. We realize that we need the information, and then we can process it properly. But it is painful. All right. This next paragraph is super important, and it applies to all of us. And this is why we're doing this work, is this next paragraph. Limiting beliefs grow stronger with time due to the power of momentum. You must either radically reduce the intensity of these beliefs, or your life will be consumed by fear. What do you have to lose? All you have to lose is the attachments to limitations which you have been using to explain your self-perceived inadequacies. Those inadequacies are illusions and never really existed. If you can drop your evidence, stop talking about your problems, and see your issues as opportunities for growth, you will raise your vibration and create a new reality. If you maintain your attachment and keep talking about anything unwanted, you will continue to live in fear. This is such a big thing with all of us. We cannot keep bringing up our limitations to other people, to ourselves. We can't complain about any aspect of ourselves. We can never, well, okay, this is just Gary talking here, but like this idea of wishing things were different, that is not helpful at all. That is being the victim. If you say, oh, I just wish this would happen or that would happen, no, it's all in your power. You're giving your power to something outside of you, like a God. A God could grant you your wishes. No, you're the God and you're in control of this stuff. And so you can make anything happen, but you have to do it from the inside out.
And even if something doesn't happen that you want, it is still perfect, and it's a condition that perhaps you chose pre-birth. So no matter how much you try to change the conditions, it's still going to be there because it's part of your life purpose, part of your soul contract, so your pre-birth intention. So it's all within us, like, you know, source, all the beings of light, Joshua, all the non-physical aspects of us, we are source. They're all within us. They're not outside of us. Like, you know, I know we've been conditioned that all these beings and God and everyone is outside of ourselves and we should pray to them, and you know, we're the one that is not worthy and they help us from above, you know.
Right.
But they actually us. It is all within us. We are that. So we've just been conditioned, you know, to think that we are not these powerful beings.
Yeah.
But we are that. We are source. And the more we do this work, the more we align and attract our higher selves, which are just other more, you know, frequencies of source, until we can become God realized. So it's a journey, and some of us may not get fully there in this lifetime, and that's okay, because you don't know your pre-birth intentions. Even those of you who know people who are not on this journey whatsoever, they are just highly advanced. They just chose not to remember who they are. It doesn't mean that they're not powerful. They're here to trigger you in the remembering journey. We're here to activate you with these teachings, but some people are here to trigger you also. So either way, it's just as perfect, and it assists you to unlock the divine blueprint in the remembering of who you are. It's forcing you to go inwards and look at your limiting beliefs.
Yeah, it's interesting. Our humans, from as far back as history tells us, were always seeking something outside of themselves in the gods, the Roman gods and the Greek gods, that this God would help with this and this God would solve this problem, you know, and so it's always been outside of us. And so here we are now, really talking about it's all in us now, and there is nothing outside of us. But see how conditioned we are? We're all conditioned to think that you gotta hope that it's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. You've got to have friends that help you and all these things outside of you. We have to realize it's all within us.
That's right. And, you know, like I channel different beings and they help with certain things, but I recognize too that because of my belief systems, because we still live in a state of duality, they come forth through me in a way that people hear the messages. So coming through in a perceived, you know, separate being helps other people to receive the message, even though I know they are part of me and they still teach oneness. It sometimes helps other people just to get that message, and it helps those of you who channel as well. It really helps to know that, and it strengthens and helps your trust, knowing that they are actually part of you. So when you're there going, okay, who am I going to channel and are they going to come through? Just know that they're actually aspects of you, and don't, you know, all the work and the connection is within. They are part of you.
And it's like, there's, you know, when that's coming through you, we say that they are coming here to assist us or to help us, but they're never giving us answers. They're never telling us what to do. They're always just showing us another perspective. And it's up to us to understand that perspective or not, right? They are happy with us as we are. We're not doing anything wrong. We are seeking this information. They're providing it to us, but whether we get it or not, they don't care. They're happy either way. You know, they do not have an agenda. They see us as perfect as we are, experiencing this life as we intended to do it. And it doesn't matter if you spend all the time in this illusion of lack and unworthiness your entire life. It's still a valid exploration of life. But for our perspective, if you were to explore who you truly are, it would be a more satisfying experience of life. what Joshua says is that the fear-based exploration of life, thinking things need to be different than they are, has a lot of fear in it. But the love-based exploration of life has a lot of fear too, because you'll be receiving inspiration and you'll have to push through fear because you're being driven forward. Yeah. All right, last paragraph. There is no wrong in any of it. An exploration of fear is just as valid as an exploration of love. However, you are a magnificent and worthy being who set powerful intentions prior to your birth. These intentions are trying to come forth. Since you are a great and powerful creator, your resistance comes in intense levels of inner conflict. You must either go with the flow of the current you established prior to your birth, your pre-birth contract, or give up altogether. If you go with the flow, you will have to accept the absolute perfection in all that is, yourself, all others, and the world in which you live. You'll have to give up the illusion of bad and wrong. You'll have to give up your fight and struggle. You'll have to absolutely accept yourself as good and worthy and valid and the essence of love. That is who you really are. Any evidence contrary to this is an illusion. With our love, we are Joshua. Yeah. So that's an interesting thing. Your issues are your sort of defense mechanism to prove to others that the only reason that you're not good is because of these issues. If you didn't have these issues, of course you'd be good. But I have these issues, so I'm not good. That proves it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And everyone goes through this. Everyone, especially, people that are on this specific path, they think, okay, so if we're into these teachings, we're learning about law of attraction or this, metaphysical, esoteric information, then we should be, somewhere else. We should be perfect already. We should be more advanced and everything. But no, it's the opposite. We need to actually embrace it. And just because we're on the conscious journey, doing this, it doesn't mean that our conditions are going to be changed. We have to accept it and love it. And even, with Catherine's conditions, even embrace the notion that even if she was to have these conditions, it would still be perfect. So actually letting go of the resistance in the notion that it'll actually get better in her terminology. Once she can completely release that and do the inward work, then you'll find if it was meant to change, then it will change. If it doesn't change, then it's perfect also. But it'll give her one step at a time to reveal her life purpose. And her being here is just one more step to discovering that.
Well, you really touched on the key here. The key here is that whatever your condition is, you have to accept it and say,
Right.
You have to say that this is for me and I don't need it to change. It could be like this forever.
Yes.
Because anything else in that is control. And
That's
in
right.
control, you're focused on this and you have to attract more of it. So by the releasing of this, focus and intensity and
attachments,
attachment, this laser beam to it. Think about when you were a kid and you had a magnifying glass and you burned a piece of paper, right? You were focused on that spot in that paper and the energy of the sun burned it. If you waved it around just a little bit and took it off that focus, then there's no power to it and you're not attracting it anymore. You just really have to say, if this thing happens, this is the solution to worry. If this thing happens, great, it'll be fine. It'll be good. It's for me. This thing I'm really worried about, if my marriage breaks up, if I get cancer or something, it'll be fine. It'll be for me. I don't have to worry about it. Everything that comes to you is for you. If you start getting in this frame of mind, then you're just going to start having this easier, more effective life.
That's right. And you hear countless stories of people with, physical or mental disabilities, of society deems as disabilities. And, you may see, they're a victim and poor them, but actually because of their condition, they've gone around and become like world famous, inspirational, teachers and inspiring millions and all these kind of life purposes. So you can see that these people chose it for a reason, and they're actually embracing it because they've realized that that's actually part of their life purpose, to then take that and not just power themselves, but they're empowering others. So if they had not had that condition, they might not have had that life purpose revealed to them.
And they're prepared for it. I had encounter with a guy when I was playing poker, and he was a young guy, and he was in a wheelchair. It's a quadriplegic, right? He could speak, but he couldn't move anything. And so he had a friend show him the cards. And so he would whisper to the friend what to do, and the friend would bet for him or fold or whatever. And it was amazing. And another friend of mine was friends with him. And he was a painter, and he painted with his mouth. And he painted such spectacular paintings that one of them was in the White House. And they hung it in the White House, and they got sent to the White House, and he met the president, I think it was Obama, and got to dinner with everyone. And then his friends bought him a studio, which was also a wine bar and a beer bar. And they built the whole thing for him. And so he has his art there, he has other artists' art there, and there's a bar there too. Like, that kind of experience doesn't happen to everyone. And you say, oh, he's so unfortunate for this. No, he's this miracle artist that would never have gotten to the level where he is if he wasn't in this situation.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's what he came for that experience. And that experience from the higher perspective is a blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. Kimberly, thank you for being here. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Thank you. All right. So if you want to know more information about me and my offerings, just jump onto my website at beingsofthelight.com. So there you'll find links to, obviously, my YouTube channel, links to Instagram. I do weekly Instagram live events too. Patreon, I've got a Patreon community where you can engage in content that way. So check it all out. I invite you to join our Facebook community, Beings of the Light with Kimberley Community, like Facebook page. But it's all there for you to explore if you're so inspired on the website.
Excellent. And if you'd like to get more Joshua, please go to Joshua's Facebook page, which is Friends of Joshua. You can go to theteachingsofjoshua.com, and we have a new boot camp starting September 8th. It's going to be our biggest and best. It's boot camp number 5. We're talking to people about that. Now, the only way to get into that boot camp is to have a conversation with me. We set it up on Zoom just like this. It's a half hour where we just talk about our lives and stuff like that, and I'll tell you all about it, but that's the only way you can find out. So if you want to learn more about the boot camp, go to joshuateachings@gmail.com. And if you want to ask a question, go to joshuaquestions@gmail.com, and maybe we'll pick the question for one of these podcasts. Until the next time, thank you, Kimberly, for being here, and we'll see you all later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you later.